Today we're talking with Dr. Jim Goetz. He's an expert in strength and conditioning, human performance, and nutrition. I want to apologize in advance for the background noise. When we conducted the interview, he was in his clinic where they do training in the next room, so there's quite a bit of noise going on in the background, but try to ignore the noise and focus on what he says because he has some really great things to share. And I especially encourage you to hang in there to the end because we talk about saturated fat and how our bodies respond to that. And it's really worth listening to. So let's cue up the music. Welcome to the Holistic Health Matters podcast, where it's all about maximizing your health potential in body, mind, and spirit so that you can pursue the abundant life more effectively. I'm your host, David Sandstrom, naturopathic doctor and biblical health coach, and this is episode number 20. Today's guest is Dr. Jim Goetz. Jim is known as the Mad Scientist and is Chief of Human Performance at Functionized. He's a chiropractor and has a background in strength and conditioning coaching. He coaches a variety of athletes ranging from high school national wrestling champions, NCAA Division I football, the NFL, Major League Baseball, Major League Soccer, USA Gymnastics, Olympic athletes, NCAA women's basketball, professional boxing, and NPC women's figure. That's quite a resume. So let's jump right into the interview. Jim, welcome to the Holistic Health Matters podcast. Glad to have you on the show.
Thank you very much, David. It's very nice to be here. I appreciate it.
So I thank you for being here. I know you are a chiropractor, and you're also a fitness guy and a nutrition guy. How did you go from strength training and conditioning coach in Major League Baseball and the NFL to doctor and biohacker with your own lab?
It's a long story, but the gist of it was I needed more and I couldn't take the egos anymore.
Okay.
There is a lot of control in professional athletics from the athletic training staff as opposed to being able to really control and create our own programs. And I found a lot of times the athletes would be babied as to prevent injury as opposed to being able to do the right programs with them to prevent injury. And a lot of guys were getting hurt needlessly, and as the strength and conditioning staff, we're the ones being looked at.
Yeah.
That was not fun. I remember the one guy in particular. He's a strong beast. He played for the Blue Jays, an outfielder, and he could squat over 450 pounds.
Wow.
The only problem was the athletic training staff didn't want him getting hurt at 450 pounds, and instead decided that he couldn't lift more than 225 during the season.
Huh.
And I felt, as did a lot of others, that he would become deconditioned during that time, and his performance would suffer as a result.
Yeah.
Those are some of the reasons, if you would. Also, especially when it came more to football than anything. I mean, don't get me wrong, the guys are great, but you get one or two bad apples that somehow are still in the Hall of Fame, and you can't really say too much because they are Hall of Fame caliber athletes.
Yeah.
But they kind of wanted to dictate what they wanted to dictate and do what they wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And how do you tell a guy who's an all-pro every year that you could be better? You could be a better athlete, you could be a better person. They just didn't want to hear it. Yeah. And it kind of got frustrating a bit. And I remember, for lack of a better term, I had a pinched nerve in my left upper trap. And I was just working out and got this pinched nerve, and a girl that I knew referred me over to a doctor of chiropractic down in Tampa named Dr. Shaker. She said he's amazing. He works on all the athletes everywhere. I had not been introduced to him yet. Going over there, she called, made an appointment for me, and he saw me that afternoon. He did some techniques that I've never seen before in my life. Thought they were absolutely amazing. It was not just the, as they say, whack 'em, crack 'em, send you on your way.
Yeah.
He used a technique before creating his own called trigenics, and it really caused neuromuscular education, and my upper trap felt amazing. Instead of being ushered over to the secretary, or the office manager, I should say, and pay my bill, he ushered me down the hallway to his office, sat me down, and told me all about chiropractic and why I should become a doctor of chiropractic instead. And he said it was his lunch break, and he'd rather talk to me, so we shot the breeze for a good hour. And I was sold. I loved it.
You know, the funny thing is, I have a similar story. That's one of the reasons why I got into natural health myself. I had a gym injury. I overdid it, and it's basically like a tendonitis in my elbow. And I went to the traditional approach, you know, took the anti-inflammatories, and the docs pretty much didn't have anything else for me. And I found a chiropractor, and I'd never even been to a chiropractor before, but he was doing a procedure called active release technique.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've heard of it. And I went there and told him my story. He's like, yeah, come on in. I think I can help you. And he did. And 2 or 3 sessions later, I was up to normal again. I couldn't believe the progress I made without drugs. And it was really inspiring. And he's become a good friend over the years. He's one of my mentors even today. And he inspired me to get into natural health and get my naturopathic doctor and get going.
I love it. I love those stories.
Yeah.
Dr. Shaker there, I wanted to include him. I decided I was going to make a movie and want to get up on Netflix and go to the film festival route ahead of time. It's called the Keto Project movie. And it's really about quality of food and how that matters according to what's turning out to be genotype, your genetics, and bioavailability. And I had to make sure that he was a part of it, so went down to Tampa a few weeks ago and invited myself, my film crew, and daughter, who's like my little intern at 13 here, over at his house, and it was wonderful. We had to talk for a couple hours, and I'd probably still be there talking to him and hanging out with him. Definitely changed my life for the better.
That sounds exciting. I want to talk about the movie a little more, but before we do that, I just want to say this. When people pick up my book, The Christian's Guide to Holistic Health, I have a few chapters on diet. And people go straight, I see them pick up the book, they'll go straight to those chapters. They want to know about diet. That's the thing people are most concerned about. Of course, there's a lot more to health than just that. But I'm curious to know, you're doing a movie called The Keto Project, and I believe you had something to say on this one-size-fits-all fad-type dieting. Could you speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely. As you're saying, everyone in your book is going direct towards the pages on diet. What do I do? How is it going to make me a better version of myself? How am I going to lose weight? And some people, how am I going to run faster, jump higher? They just want to...
sleep better, have more energy, all that.
Exactly. There is no one-size-fits-all, as I've learned. Some people respond amazing to a low-fat ketogenic diet. Some people, as I'm finding out, are responding amazing to a 100% carnivore diet. Our test subject, another doctor, friend and colleague of mine here, Dr. Brandon, was our case subject in this study here. And the idea was to ensure that he remains in ketosis for the duration. It was a 90-day study. The first 30 days, he ate his caloric requirement in only hamburger patties from Burger King. That's what the double-blind study test panel decided was the best tasting burger, without the special sauce, without the buns, without all the fun stuff on it. So for 30 days straight, he drank water and ate 20 burgers a day from Burger King. Wow. We obviously quantified everything. We did. We stuck him everywhere with needles. Drew blood. We drew liquids from other orifices. We did physical testing. We did brain mapping on him, and showing what a diet in hamburgers does while remaining in ketosis. And that pretty much showed that he will die pretty quickly. Accelerated aging rate, increased inflammation, became deficient in a lot of minerals. His brain maps were insane off the charts of dysfunction. He really couldn't survive, especially at the high level he has to perform as a physician every day. He couldn't survive as a basic teenager, pretty much just trying to get by freshman year of high school.
Wow.
The next 30 days, we got him off of all meat except for some fish, 3 days a week, and a lot of oils and higher fiber vegetables. His ketone levels actually went up. His performance went up. His deficiencies were greatly reduced. I forgot on the very first, his testosterone levels actually went down to lower than my wife's. It was terrible. His testosterone levels and all hormone levels became regulated again, and he was a happy camper. The last 30 days, he went on a diet of only end-grass finished beef. So grass-fed and grass-finished beef, kind of like the Burger King, but raised in a far better manner.
Yeah.
Higher in omega-3 fatty acids, less in omega-6 arachidonic acid. And
Higher in
his
CLA.
results, exactly, yes. His results, I gotta say, kind of went back to those of Burger King. Not nearly as bad, but a lot of levels dropped. His performance was definitely better when we did physical testing than with Burger King.
Uh-huh.
But he became deficient in a lot of things, such as B3. His testosterone levels went down again. It just was not healthy. Even his liver panels, his enzymes started rising up once again.
Well, that speaks to the idea of biochemical individuality, right?
Yes.
We're all different people. As you said, I've seen people thrive on Atkins or keto,
Yep.
and I've seen people thrive on vegetarianism. And
Absolutely.
there's a continuum there, and there's a point on that continuum that each one of us rests, and we have to find out where we are on that continuum.
And that's the huge aspect of it. He is a type A blood type. Myself, my wife are type O positive, and we do far better on meat when we do all our testing.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing a lot of the research, one of the guests on our podcast, not our podcast, excuse me, in the movie, is an individual by the name of Dr. Sean Baker, who wrote the book, The Carnivore Diet, and he releases a lot of studies that I've had to critically appraise to make sure they're on point here for my own self,
Mm-hmm.
and showing the amazing effects that people have on eating just beef. But again, what you're saying is that individuality, where if you're not absorbing things properly, or there's a different reaction in your body that may not be as beneficial, then that diet's not right for you.
Right.
And it's more than just a diet. I call it a lifestyle. How are you going to live for the rest of your life? And for individuals, for instance, there's an individual I know recently that she lost 50 pounds. And an amazing feat for her. Congratulations. Then decided to go back, because that was just a diet in her mind, to how she was doing before, and she not only gained back that 50, but another 10.
Okay.
So living that lifestyle forever of what works is so vital and important. If your body's thriving off of something, then do that. If it's not, then it doesn't make sense, does it?
Right. I tell people, our bodies are always talking to us. They tell us when we're tired. They tell us when we're thirsty. They tell us when we're hungry. They're always giving us signals. Well, if we tune in a little bit deeper, a little bit, down the causal chain of those symptoms, we can look at things like, how was my energy after that meal? How was my mood? How about my mental clarity? Was I able to remember someone's phone number? Did I have jittery energy? Those types of things are clues as to how well that meal fit your individuality.
I think what you're saying there is also goes to the idea of knowing what you're eating and paying attention to yourself and your surroundings at the time. Taking a meal and actually having the time that you make for yourself for that meal to enjoy the bites, know that you're actually swallowing food.
Right.
You've probably found the same thing in this go-go society that we live today. Individuals don't seem to be taking the time for themselves.
Yep,
so
absolutely.
when it comes to food, what can I shove down my throat as fast as possible and keep on going?
Right.
They pay less attention to that, so when they may get some mental fog, or a little tummy is feeling a little bloated, or they're just not moving as well, they don't recognize that or know that.
Right. Well, our bodies are very durable, but if I bought a brand new C8 Corvette, I know I'm going to put premium gasoline in it, right? Mm-hmm. But people want to treat their bodies differently, even though our bodies are far more complicated than any car. They want to put junk food in. They want to put diesel fuel, or worse yet, kerosene, which is jet fuel, into their body and expect it to perform like a brand new Corvette. It just doesn't work that way. It's simple physics.
I think you and I use that exact same metaphor.
Mm-hmm. All right,
there's a guy. He pulled up one day to our facility, and I see him getting out. He's all disheveled looking. He's got a brand new Maserati. I mean, you can tell he's had this thing detailed. And I asked him, straight up, you just had your car detailed, didn't you? He said, yeah. I said, when's the last time you shaved? What are you putting in that car? What are you putting in your body? Yeah, I get it. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a good point. So tell me more about the movie project. When's it coming out? And, what does it look like? What's that experience like for you?
The experience is really cool, I gotta say. Back in undergrad, I started out as a communications major. Was very fortunate to play baseball down at the University of Tampa. Little Toot, the 7-time national champions.
Cool.
I was a little unhappy with the major, though. Just wasn't really relating. When you're done playing baseball, you got to go up in the broadcast booth, and that was the whole reason that I decided to become a communications major. Okay. But what I really gravitated towards was movie making and filmmaking. I thought it was really cool. And at the time, that program hadn't really developed yet for me to get much out of it, so I was a little unhappy, needing more. So I was sitting around one day with my roommate and girlfriend, who's now my wife, and she says, what do you like to do? You need a new major. I said, well, I like to play baseball. She said, well, you're doing that. She said, what else do you like to do? I said, in a jock fashion, I like to work out. She said, great, major in that. I'm like, you can? Yeah, you can major in exercise science. So I went over to the registrar's office, and before you know it, I found out that she was telling me the truth. You actually can major in exercise science. Who'd have thunk it?
Yeah, my daughter is in exercise physiology right now at Kennesaw State. Awesome.
Is she enjoying it?
Yeah, she likes it a lot.
Excellent. It's a great major.
Yep.
Over time, though, I still had that itch to make some movies, and during we'll call it the COVID era, our facility, while we've never closed, got a little slower, and I'm getting a little antsy, and it finally hits me to follow through. I've wanted to make this documentary. I started writing a book on it for a while. I mean, I'm talking about years, a while. And it finally hit me. I said, you moron, what are you waiting for? Just do it. So I told my wife my idea. I said, you remember that movie, Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith, where he kind of put everything into it, and it was either be broke or, actually make a living for yourself? She said, yeah. I said, you mind if we put everything into this movie? She's like, whatever. Wow. Go ahead, I trust you.
You got a good woman there.
I got a great, great wife. Can't say enough positive about her. But, started putting this together here, and started making a list of who I want to talk to, making a lot of phone calls, doing a lot of emails, and it's been a lot of traveling, talking to people, some very good people, getting to meet a lot of great people, kibitzing. The same thing you and I are doing here on the podcast, just doing my best to get there in person to actually meet with them and talk with them and get some really great conversations. Mm-hmm. And right now, my film guy and I are in the process of putting the trailer together. Just because you can have a great movie that you put together doesn't mean anyone will ever see it.
Right.
The amount of money that goes into just marketing in of itself is insane. I was told by our attorney there for the film that even in the movie Gemini Man with Will Smith, they put $50 million into just marketing.
Wow.
Yeah. So, step one right now, we're on making the trailer. I'm hoping to have the trailer done around the new year. Mm-hmm. Then, got to raise the funds for it, and we're going to continue. There's a few other guests that I'd like to put on there and continue to compile the movie. I'm keeping my fingers crossed and really hoping that around this time next year, it'll be done and ready.
Okay. How are people going to be able to watch it?
At first, I've already got a few commitments locally from some film festivals. And I'd like to get into as many film festivals around the world as possible, which is, believe it or not as difficult as one would think to do.
Okay.
Get a lot of exposure from the film festival, and then I've already got all the requirements from Netflix, who I've discussed with, on how to put it up on Netflix.
Oh, so it's going to be on Netflix.
That is correct.
All right.
That was one of the toughest points and the most costly points up front, was making sure I had all the equipment for the requirements to be up on Netflix, making sure it was the proper 4K, the right sound, size, speed, I mean, you name it, they've got a bunch of requirements to have up there. So making sure all the equipment was right for that. Mm-hmm. And so went out, did it, and we're moving along. I would love to actually just do that full time. I think making films is a lot of fun, and we'll see how this one goes, but I could definitely get into doing more of that along the lines of health, fitness, and wellness.
Well, that's really cool. I'm a holistic health guy, and I think following your passion and your purpose is absolutely a health-building strategy. That's great. Good for you. Really great.
I like that. It's a health-building strategy. Absolutely. Mental health. And
before I let you go, I have one more question for you. But before I ask that question, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Sure. You can get a hold of me direct through our website at www.functionize.com. support@functionize.com. The emails will get to me. And on our social media, Facebook and Instagram, we're very active there. Okay. Probably a little overly active, but it's all at Functionized, FUNCTIONISED.
Okay, very good. All right, here's my last question for you. I'd like for you, because I think you know something about this, I'd like for you to speak to the idea of saturated fat leads to hardening of the arteries. It'll give you heart disease. Could you speak to that for a minute?
Sure. Short words, it's kind of bunk. Saturated fat back in the day was vilified, especially through the 7 countries study. Dr. Ansel Keys put together a study and was able to show that incorporating saturated fat into your body is going to be like pouring fat down your drain. Well, the difference is when you pour fat down the drain of your sink, it hardens right in the middle there, especially because it's got cold water that is coming down along with it, and it will harden and clog things and cause a clog. Our bodies are constant temperature. That fat is not going to harden in there, and it's going to be free-flowing. More so when you get into a organic chemistry or biochemical standpoint here, not to get too complex, but when it comes to saturated fats, you have carbon bonds that are bound together by either 1 or 2 bonds. The double bond is an unsaturated fat, which is free to bind to other things such as oxygen. That's when it becomes oxidized, and individuals will age a lot quicker. They will have dysfunction with their DNA that can lead to cancers and, yes, even heart diseases. When you have a saturated fat, it's a single bond. Therefore, that bond cannot bind to any other molecules such as oxygen. So it's a lot more stable in the long run. Therefore, healthier, if you would. Mm-hmm. A lot of the unsaturated fats, the vegetable oils, are very easily oxidized. They become rancid a lot quicker and easier. And a lot of the vegetable oils people are having are literally leading to all the things that they're trying to prevent. And they think they're preventing with avoiding saturated fat, but in reality, they're actually causing it. And it's just due to poor studies, observational studies. I mean, it's like an observational study. Say you lived 110 years old and you started eating a pizza a day. Therefore, by eating pizza every single day, you lived 110. Not necessarily.
Right.
Over time, we've been able to put together, by we, I mean scientists here, physicians, long-term randomized controlled trials, systematic reviews on this, which is far better levels of evidence than is observational studies.
Right. Yeah, that's excellent. Really, very good explanation. I love it. And, you know, one of the things that I like to point out to people is, I believe it was Ansel Keys, he used rabbits for his study, and he fed rabbits diets high in fat and cholesterol. Well, a rabbit is a vegetarian, and there's no such thing as a vegetarian source of cholesterol. So when you feed a rabbit an unnatural diet, you're going to see some bad things happen. That
1,000%.
Research doesn't translate to human beings. It just doesn't.
There's been some further research on those studies as well, and it does seem to be the number one underlying factor was not the saturated fat. It actually came down to sugar. Mm-hmm. So all the heart disease was actually being caused by sugar. Right. And yes, feeding rabbits food that they shouldn't be eating.
Right. Sugar and omega-6. Omega-6 fatty acids. The combination of those two is extraordinarily unhealthy. All right. Well, Jim, I really enjoyed this conversation. Maybe we can do it again sometime. You're a wealth of knowledge, and you got a lot of energy, and I really appreciate you coming on the show.
The appreciation's all on this side, David. Thank you so very much for having me.
All right. Thanks, Jim. Take care.
Thank you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Dr. Jim Goetz. He dropped a lot of value bombs on us. I thought that was a really worthwhile conversation. Don't forget to go to my website, davidsandstrom.com. I always post links to any resources we talked about, and I also post a full transcript of the whole conversation. You can read it there online, or you can download it, put it on your device, take it with you, and read it later. Thanks for listening. I enjoyed serving you, and I'll talk with you next week. Take care. Be blessed.